Marcus Sterling stood frozen in the doorway of his penthouse living room, his $300 suit wrinkled from another 80-hour workday. What he witnessed made his blood run cold. There, in the middle of his pristine marble floor, was his 7-year-old daughter Emma. The child, doctors said, would never walk standing upright, wobbling but determined, reaching toward her nanny Sarah, who knelt just feet away with tears streaming down her face. "Emma, you're doing it. You're actually standing," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Marcus's briefcase crashed to the floor. For 2 years, every specialist, every therapist, every medical expert had told him the same devastating truth. His daughter's cerebral palsy was too severe. She would never walk independently. Yet here she was, defying everything he'd been told. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button, share this video, and let me know in the comments what you think happened next. Don't forget to subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more incredible true stories that will restore your faith in humanity. But let's go back to the beginning to understand how we got to this miraculous moment. Marcus Sterling hadn't always been the cold, distant workaholic he'd become. Once, he was a devoted husband and father who believed love could conquer anything. That changed 3 years ago when his wife died in a car accident, the same accident that left his then 4-year-old daughter Emma with severe brain injuries and cerebral palsy. Overwhelmed by grief and drowning in medical bills despite his wealth, Marcus threw himself into his tech empire. Work became his escape, his way of avoiding the painful reality of watching his vibrant, dancing daughter struggle to perform the most basic tasks. He hired the best caregivers money could buy, convinced that expensive treatment and professional care were what Emma needed most. The first 5 nannies didn't last long. Some quit because Emma was too challenging. Others left because Marcus's impossible standards and emotional absence made the job unbearable. Then Sarah Martinez answered his ad. At 28, Sarah wasn't like the highly credentialed professionals Marcus usually hired. She was a former elementary school teacher who'd lost her job due to budget cuts. She had no special training in caring for disabled children, no impressive degrees in physical therapy or child development. What she had was something Marcus had forgotten the value of: genuine compassion. "I don't need someone to feel sorry for my daughter," Marcus had told her during the interview, his voice sharp with protective anger. "I need someone who can provide professional care while I work." Sarah had looked him directly in the eye. "Mr. Sterling, I don't feel sorry for Emma, but I do see a little girl who's lost her mother and barely sees her father. She doesn't need just professional care. She needs someone who believes in her." Against his better judgment, Marcus hired her. What he didn't know was that Sarah had her own painful story. Her younger brother had been born with Down syndrome, and she'd spent her childhood watching her parents pour all their energy into therapy appointments and medical consultations, while forgetting to simply love and believe in him. She'd sworn she'd never let another child feel that their worth was measured by their limitations. From her first day, Sarah approached Emma differently than anyone else had. While previous caregivers focused on what Emma couldn't do, Sarah celebrated what she could do. She didn't see a disabled child who needed fixing. She saw a bright, funny, creative little girl who happened to have physical challenges. "Good morning, superstar," Sarah would say each day, greeting Emma with genuine enthusiasm. "What adventure are we going on today?" Emma, who had grown quiet and withdrawn since her mother's death, began to smile again. Sarah's methods were unconventional. Instead of rigid physical therapy sessions that left Emma frustrated and exhausted, she turned everything into games. They had dance parties in the wheelchair, with Sarah spinning Emma around the room while music played. They did treasure hunts that encouraged Emma to stretch and reach for objects. Every small movement was celebrated as a victory. "Look at how strong your arms are getting," Sarah would cheer when Emma managed to wheel herself across the room. "You're getting faster every day." Marcus noticed the changes, but attributed them to Emma finally adjusting to her new reality. He was too busy with merger deals and board meetings to pay close attention to the transformation happening in his own home. What Marcus didn't see were the quiet moments when Sarah would sit beside Emma's bed each night, reading stories and gently massaging Emma's legs while sharing her own dreams and fears. "You know what I think, Emma," Sarah whispered one evening as she worked circulation into Emma's muscles. "I think our bodies are smarter than doctors sometimes give them credit for. I think if we love them enough and believe in them enough, they can surprise us." Emma, who rarely spoke anymore, whispered back, "Do you really think I might walk someday like Mommy and I used to dance?" Sarah's heart broke and soared simultaneously. "I think you're already dancing, sweetheart. You're dancing with your heart, your spirit, your beautiful smile. And maybe, if we keep dancing together, your legs might want to join the party." Over the following months, Sarah implemented a routine that no medical professional had suggested. Every morning, she would help Emma out of bed and support her weight while encouraging her to bear down on her feet for just a few seconds. She made it a game, counting together and celebrating each additional second Emma could support herself. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. "Emma, you held it for 3 whole seconds. That's a new record." Emma began looking forward to these morning standing parties. Her core strength gradually improved, and her balance, while still precarious, started to develop. Marcus remained oblivious. He left for work before Emma woke up and returned after her bedtime. His communication with Sarah was limited to brief notes about Emma's medical appointments and dietary requirements. He paid Sarah well, but he never asked about Emma's day, her progress, or her emotional well-being. The challenges were immense. Some days, Emma would have painful muscle spasms that left her crying and frustrated. Other days, the weight of her limitations would overwhelm her, and she'd refuse to participate in any activities, asking why she couldn't be normal, like other kids. During these difficult moments, Sarah never offered false promises or empty platitudes. Instead, she would hold Emma and acknowledge her pain. "It's okay to be sad, Emma. It's okay to be angry. Your feelings are real and they matter. But you know what else is real? How brave you are, how hard you try, how much joy you bring to my life every single day." Sarah also faced her own challenges. Marcus's emotional distance created a lonely, tense atmosphere in the penthouse. She often worked 12-hour days with minimal adult interaction, and she worried constantly that she was overstepping boundaries by encouraging Emma to attempt movements that medical professionals had deemed impossible. But something remarkable was happening. Emma's legs, which had been weak and unresponsive for so long, began showing signs of improvement. The daily standing parties evolved into walking practice, with Sarah supporting most of Emma's weight as they took tiny shuffling steps across the room. "I can feel my legs, Sarah," Emma exclaimed one afternoon after managing to take 3 supported steps. "They feel tingly and strong." Sarah wanted to call Marcus to share this incredible development, but she knew he was in back-to-back meetings and had instructed her never to interrupt his workday unless it was a medical emergency. As weeks passed, Emma's progress accelerated. She began taking more steps, requiring less support, building strength and confidence with each small victory. Sarah started secretly recording these moments on her phone, planning to show Marcus when he had time to focus on his daughter's achievements. That time never seemed to come. Marcus was in the middle of the biggest merger of his career, a deal that would double his company's value, but required his complete attention 18 hours a day. He spoke to Emma only briefly during his rushed breakfast, usually while reviewing contracts on his phone. Emma began asking why Daddy didn't want to see her walk. Sarah explained that her father was working very hard to take care of them, but privately, she worried about the emotional distance between father and daughter. The breakthrough came on a rainy Thursday evening. Emma had been practicing in her room when she decided she wanted to surprise her nanny. With determination that had been building for months, she managed to stand up from her wheelchair unassisted and take several wobbling but independent steps toward the living room. Sarah had been in the kitchen preparing dinner when she heard Emma calling for her. She rushed into the living room and found Emma standing alone in the middle of the room, beaming with pride and terror at her own accomplishment. "Sarah, look," I'm doing it all by myself." At that exact moment, Marcus walked through the front door. The three of them stood frozen in a tableau that would change everything. Emma, standing independently for the first time in 3 years, trembling with effort and excitement. Sarah, tears streaming down her face, caught between celebrating the miracle and worrying about Marcus's reaction. And Marcus, the man who had convinced himself that emotional distance was protection, watching his daughter achieve what every doctor had said was impossible. "Daddy," Emma called out, her voice filled with pure joy. "I can walk. Sarah taught me how to walk." Marcus felt his carefully constructed emotional walls crumble. For months, he'd been so focused on providing the best medical care that he'd forgotten the most important element, belief. While he'd been drowning in pessimistic prognosis and protective detachment, Sarah had been nurturing hope and celebrating every tiny victory. He dropped to his knees and opened his arms. Emma, with wobbling steps but unwavering determination, walked directly into her father's embrace. "I've missed you, Daddy," she whispered against his chest. Marcus held his daughter and looked up at Sarah, who had made this miracle possible not through expensive treatments or revolutionary therapies, but through love, patience, and unshakable belief in Emma's potential. "I'm sorry," he whispered to both of them, tears flowing freely for the first time since his wife's funeral. "I'm so sorry I wasn't here to see how amazing you both are." From that moment forward, everything changed. Marcus restructured his work schedule to be present for Emma's continued progress. He joined their morning standing parties, learned Sarah's games, and became an active participant in his daughter's recovery rather than a distant provider. Emma continued to improve dramatically. Within 6 months, she was walking independently with only minimal assistance. A year later, she was running, climbing playground equipment, and yes, dancing, just like she had with her mother. Marcus also made another decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He asked Sarah not just to stay as Emma's caregiver, but to become part of their family in every way that mattered. Their relationship had grown from employer and employee to partners in Emma's care, and eventually to something deeper. 2 years after that miraculous evening, Sarah became Emma's stepmother and Marcus's wife. But more importantly, she remained the person who had taught them both that love and belief could accomplish what medical science deemed impossible. Emma, now walking confidently and attending regular school, often tells people that she has the best superhero for a mom, one who taught her that the greatest disabilities are the limitations we place on ourselves and others. This incredible true story reminds us that miracles happen when we combine love with unwavering belief. If this story inspired you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more amazing stories that prove love really can conquer all. Leave a comment below and tell us about a time when someone believed in you when no one else did. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to hear today. The Sterling family now advocates for children with disabilities, sharing Emma's story to remind other families that medical prognosis, while important, don't define a child's ultimate potential. Their foundation provides funding for unconventional therapies that focus on emotional support alongside physical treatment. Marcus often reflects on how close he came to missing the most important miracle of his life because he was too afraid to hope. Sarah's gift wasn't just helping Emma walk, it was teaching both father and daughter that the greatest healing comes from love, patience, and the courage to believe in possibilities others can't see.